How did a band with simple riffs and a no-frills approach go from gritty pubs to selling out the world's biggest stadiums? Forget the pyrotechnics and elaborate stage shows of other rock giants. ACDC did it differently, and that's precisely why they became one of the biggest bands on the planet. This is the definitive story of how ACDC didn't just play rock and roll, they were rock and roll. We're diving deep into the unique formula that transformed them into an untouchable stadium rock phenomenon, and uncovering the secrets behind their legendary ability to consistently pack colossal venues decade after decade. Before the stadiums and the colossal stage shows, there was the raw, unadulterated energy of the early days. ACDC was born in the back alleys of Sydney, Australia, fueled by the vision of brothers Angus and Malcolm Young. Their mission was simple: play pure, uncompromised rock and roll. The band's name itself, taken from the alternating current direct current label on their sister's sewing machine, was a perfect reflection of their sound: electric, powerful, and to the point. Their sound was a direct reaction to the bloated, pretentious rock of the 70s. While others were exploring progressive rock epics, ACDC stripped it all back to its core: a simple three-chord riff, a pounding rhythm section, and the unmistakable, swaggering voice of frontman Bon Scott. They built their legacy not on complexity, but on a visceral, primal connection with their audience. And they did it relentlessly. They toured like an army, playing every pub, club, and small venue they could find. This wasn't just about building a fan base, it was about forging a bond, one sweaty, beer-soaked gig at a time. The grind was real: sleepless nights, cramped vans, and playing to a handful of people one night only to do it all over again the next. But this relentless touring ethos was their secret weapon. It honed their sound and sharpened their live performance into an unstoppable force. Bon Scott, with his rebellious charm and charismatic stage presence, was the perfect conduit for this energy. He wasn't just a singer, he was a poet of the streets, his lyrics filled with tales of hard living, hard drinking, and the kind of mischief that every rock and roll fan could relate to. Songs like "It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll" weren't just titles, they were a mantra, a candid reflection of their journey and their unwavering belief in their music. He embodied the rock and roll lifestyle, living every word he sang, and the crowds couldn't get enough. By 1979, all that hard work paid off. The album Highway to Hell wasn't just another record, it was a declaration. It was their first to really crack the mainstream, with its title track becoming a global anthem. Produced by a young up-and-coming Robert John "Mutt" Lange, the album retained their raw power, but gave it a cleaner, more radio-friendly sheen. The sound was punchier, the riffs were more defined, and the choruses were bigger than ever. The album's success was not just a testament to their improved production, but also to their tireless touring schedule. They had already built a formidable following in the UK and Europe, and this album provided the perfect ammunition for their assault on the US market. Their live show began to evolve too. They weren't just a band playing songs, they were a force of nature. Angus Young's frenetic stage presence, running and duck-walking across the stage, was legendary even in smaller venues. They were beginning to outgrow the confines of the clubs that had made them. The Highway to Hell tour marked their transition from a cult favorite to a true rock spectacle. But at the absolute peak of their rising fame, tragedy struck. In February 1980, Bon Scott died. He was found unresponsive after a night of heavy drinking. The world reeled, and for a moment it seemed like the end of ACDC. How could they possibly continue without their magnetic, irreplaceable frontman? The music world held its breath. For the band, the grief was immense, but the choice was clear. With the blessing of Bon's own family, they decided to press on, knowing that that's what their fallen brother would have wanted. The search for a new singer was a daunting task. They needed someone who could not only deliver the goods vocally, but also carry the weight of Bon's legacy. The answer came in the form of a gruff, flat-capped wearing Geordie named Brian Johnson. A recommendation from Bon himself. Johnson had a voice that was a revelation, a powerful, raspy scream that paid homage to Bon's spirit while carving out its own identity. They didn't just replace Bon, they honored his memory by getting back to work and creating their masterpiece. The result was Back in Black, an album that became more than a comeback. It was a phenomenon. Recorded in the Bahamas under the careful eye of Mutt Lange, the album was a thunderous, defiant statement. The recording sessions were a mix of grief and creative fire. Brian Johnson, still reeling from the sudden turn of events, channeled his emotions into the lyrics, famously writing the opening lines of Hell's Bells after a tropical storm hit the island. He took the storm's rolling thunder and pouring rain and turned it into the song's ominous, powerful imagery. Released just 5 months after Bond's death, it was a tribute and a triumphant rebirth all in one. With hits like Hell's Bells, You Shook Me All Night Long, and the unstoppable title track, the album sold in staggering numbers, becoming one of the best-selling records of all time. It proved that AC/DC's raw power transcended a single person. It was in the music itself. With Brian, their live show transformed from high-energy club gigs into full-blown stadium spectacles. The iconic cannons, the giant inflatable Rosie, and the famous Hell's Bells bell became staples of their performances, perfectly complementing their larger-than-life sound. They had not only survived, they had become unstoppable. The Back in Black tour saw them move into the biggest venues for the first time, proving their music could fill any space, no matter how vast. The formula was now complete and the results were undeniable. AC/DC cemented their status as a global touring force through a steadfast commitment to their core sound. While other bands experimented with synths, new genres, or complex concepts, AC/DC stuck to their guns. They never chased trends. They were the trend. This unwavering consistency built a trust with their fans that was unshakable. They delivered the same high-voltage, blues-based rock and roll every single time, and people loved them for it. Their live show became a rite of passage for generations of rock fans. The energy was always at a peak pitch, a spectacle of pure, unadulterated rock and roll. There were no frills, no elaborate light shows beyond what was necessary to rock your face off. It was just 5 guys, a deafening wall of sound, and the greatest rock anthems ever written. From Thunderstruck to TNT, every song was a call to arms for the massive crowds. This consistency and relentless touring ethos made them a live juggernaut. They didn't need new tricks, they just needed a stage. And every time they took one, they proved that their simple, powerful formula was all that was needed to move mountains of people. Their tours became legendary events, each one a testament to their longevity and their ability to connect with an audience on a primal musical level. The Blow Up Your Video Tour, the Ball Breaker Tour, the massive Black Ice World Tour, each one a new chapter in a saga of global domination, with millions of fans showing up to worship at the altar of the riff. Even through lineup changes and a brief hiatus, the core of AC/DC's live show remained. The sheer joy and energy that Angus Young brings to the stage, the thunderous backbeat of Phil Rudd, the foundational rhythm of Malcolm Young and later his nephew Stevie, and Brian Johnson's iconic scream, it's a perfect machine built for the biggest stages on Earth. Their stage presence is less about theatricality and more about raw, pure, sweaty performance, and that's what makes it so infectious. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definitive story of how AC/DC conquered the world one massive crowd at a time. They didn't need to reinvent the wheel, they just needed to prove that the wheel of rock and roll was already perfect. Their legacy isn't just about album sales or sold-out tours, it's about their indelible mark on music history. They influenced countless bands, all of whom recognized that true power lies in the riff. Their music has become a permanent fixture in our culture, soundtracking some of the most iconic moments in film, television, and advertising. Today, their music remains as relevant and powerful as it was 50 years ago. The raw, primal energy of their sound resonates with a new generation of listeners who are discovering the simple, glorious truth of rock and roll. They didn't change with the times, they became timeless. They didn't just build an empire of sound and spectacle, they built a legacy that will continue to shake foundations for generations to come. If you loved this deep dive into rock history, please do me a favor, hit that like button and share this video with a friend who needs a little more rock in their life. And I want to hear from you. What's your all-time favorite AC/DC anthem, and what's the one song you'd want to hear live at a stadium show? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories of musical legends. Thanks for watching, and, as always, for those about to rock, we salute you.